Hey guys, Mudar here. Welcome back to the channel where stories get weird, wallets become lighter, and emotional damage in a collectible form. In this video, I want to dive in the topic of collectible figure boxes. You know, all these Labubu boxes and all these figures that you buy and you don't know what you're gonna get. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because recently I made a video about material accumulation, and I wanted just to kind of help you be more in control of your spending and talk about my experience in collecting stuff and how I eventually got out of it. Now, before we start, I just wanted to make a quick disclaimer. I am not against anyone collecting anything. I'm not criticizing anyone. You're free to spend your money however you like. I'm just offering an advice for people on how to be more aware and more in control of their spending. I was reading some news the other day that apparently someone in the US managed to steal $30,000 worth of Labubu merchandise. Now, most of it was actually recovered, luckily, and in the UK and South Korea, apparently the sales of Labubu have been suspended. Not banned, but have been suspended over fighting problems associated with reselling and low stock as well. Now, I know someone who works for one of those companies, and they told me that, Mudar, you know what? Sometimes the manufacturers purposely delay the shipment or purposely bring a very low amount of stock so that people buy it quickly and then they just finish the stock in a matter of hours. And I think what they're doing here is they are manufacturing FOMO by providing low stock and delayed shipments as well. Now, some of you might say, but Mudar, part of why people buy these things is because they wanted to sort of satisfy their inner child, because when they were younger, they couldn't afford these things. And that is partially true, by the way, because when I was younger, I couldn't afford a lot of these Gundam figures that I used to collect back in my 20s. I still do like them, but I learned how to put a limit on my spendings, because what I have realized is I started engaging in two separate hobbies, which is collecting and buying as well. You see, when companies actually manufacture FOMO, they're programming you to buy. They're not just selling you the product, but they're selling you the experience of buying something that is about to run out. They're selling you the experience of buying something with an unknown outcome. And I think this is where there is a very gray area here between gambling and collecting figures. Now, a lot of you might probably be wondering, but Mudar, gambling is when you wager money and you have unknown outcomes, and some of those outcomes might be you losing everything. That's not the same, and you're right. In mystery toy boxes, you're going to be paying money. You're not going to be getting nothing in return. You will always get something, but there's also a chance that you may get a duplicate of what you already have, or a figure that you don't want, not the one that you had in mind. So what that creates a cycle of just one more box. Maybe I'll get something better. Maybe I can get something that I can sell for a high price, and so on. The problem with that is you are being programmed to buy, and that's another habit on top of collecting things. And the issue is, parents really have good intention. You know, they want to buy things for their children. The problem is the kids are also being programmed into buying more boxes and into hoping to get something that they like, and then we're nurturing that culture. And then there were actually some studies that were made that they say that buying mystery boxes actually does lead to gambling. It's not 100% gambling, but it's one of the contributing factors toward gambling. Back in my 20s, I used to collect a lot of Gundam figures, you know, the ones where you have to assemble and paint yourself. And I used to really enjoy it. I used to like the creative part because you can create something, your own custom-made mobile suit. Here's an example of something that I worked on back in my 20s. And I used to be a part of a very good community as well, where we used to share techniques on how to paint and how to make the best out of your model. Basically, what I wanted to buy something at a low price and try to make it look as premium as possible. Now, the problem that I started noticing with these kind of hobbies where you buy and you collect things is I started biting more than what I could chew. I ended up buying a lot more than what I can actually consume. My backlog started increasing and increasing until I started feeling really stressed out, until one day I woke up and I was like, you know what, I'm going to start selling most of the stuff. And I started selling a lot of these things here using online platforms, which kind of helped me feel very good because I didn't have a lot in my backlog. But the problem is, this shouldn't have happened to begin with in the first place. All of that has happened because of FOMO and because of the tendency of us as people to like to collect and hoard things. So I started becoming a little bit more careful with my approach, and I started following the philosophy of Morgan Spurlock. This is the guy that made Super Size Me, and I strongly recommend it if you haven't watched it. Unfortunately, we lost him last year in May in 2024, but his documentary is amazing. He talks about how he tries McDonald's for 30 consecutive days, and he reports what happens to his body. What I tried to do, following the same philosophy, is every time I have the urge to buy something, I would actually wait for 30 days and ask myself at the end of the month, do I really still want to buy it? Is it really important? And you know what? Most of the time, what I realize is I ask myself again, I'll be like, you know what? I'm not really in the mood to buy it anymore. I was sort of in the mood of getting it, but now it's not really that important. So I think giving it time does really help, because FOMO is very good at making you just rush into emotional decisions without really thinking about it clearly. So what you do is you want to create some time for you to reevaluate and think about whether you want to buy something or not. Now, obviously, if you keep thinking about it after a month or 2 months, then maybe think about buying that thing that you really want to, because it's a very long time. However, the problem of buying every time you feel like you want to buy something is you fall back into this pattern, into this habit of buying whenever you want, when there's really no limit, or it becomes a little bit difficult. And also the other thing that I started doing is I started selling some of my old figures every time I wanted to buy something new. So that way I don't really feel like I am adding to my backlog, to my collection. I'm just recycling some of the things that I have by paying little money or equal value to something that I want. So this is really what helped me be in control to protect myself from FOMO buying, is to wait for a month and ask myself at the end of the 30 days whether I still want to buy it or not, and try to sell every time I want to buy something as well. And with that, guys, I would like to end the video. If you made it to this far, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any tips that you can share with us in regards to how you can resist FOMO, please drop them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.